Hi, Gaye DeRusso with the Majestic Riders. Today I'm going to talk to you about the step pace. The step pace is a gait that many people do with their horse, and they're not always doing it on purpose. They just don't know that they're step pacing. The step pace is a gait, and it does have a 4-beat footfall. The hard part is that instead of having a clear 4 beats where it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, the step pace goes 1, 2, then there's a little space, 3, 4. 1, 2, space, 3, 4. So the horse's legs are not as separated. It is still a lateral footfall, so it would be like the left hind, the left front, then the right hind, and then the right front. But there can be a little suspension in there if that horse is going closer towards a pace. So some horses will have a smooth step pace, and some horses it is not so smooth. When you're doing the step pace, what it feels like in the saddle is a soft bounce. And that's where it becomes very confusing, because there's also a soft bounce when you do a foxtrot. But usually with the foxtrot, the bounce is soft, but it's a little bit bigger bounce in the saddle. With the step pace, it's not as big as a bounce, but it usually has just a little side-to-side motion. Now, a lot of people, when they buy gaited horses, don't know their horse's step pacing. Many of the horses shown in sale videos are step pacing. What you'll see is that rider will just have just a little bounce in the saddle. It won't be much at all. And that's why everybody thinks it's pretty smooth, and it is much smoother than the trot. So, is it okay to do the step pace with your horse? Sure, it's okay to do it for short periods of time, but if you can get a better gait out of your horse, then that is much better for them in the long run. With the step pace, what happens is, since that horse is not placing its foot down separately, and they're doing just a little bit more swing kind of towards the pace, but it's not a full pace, what happens is it puts more stress on your horse's back, on its SI joints, and also on its hocks. So in the long run, it's not the best gait for your horse to do, even though it might be very smooth for you to ride. So if you have a step pace, is it hard to get another gait? No. Especially if your horse has a smooth step pace, it's not that hard to go from that to like a saddle gait or to a running walk, depending what gait you're trying to get out of your horse. All you have to do is get a little bit more separation of their legs, just a second or two, and then you will have a clearer 4-beat footfall, okay? And then there should not be any soft bounce in the saddle. So again, it's better for your horse in the long run if you teach it to gait correctly, so it doesn't end up with any back issues or hock issues or SI problems. To get that separation of their legs, you can use poles, you can use serpentines, you can use leg yields, you can do shoulder in or haunches in. You just have to do some kind of lateral movement, and that's on my website. I describe an article on what are lateral movements and how to do them. It's also in my videos, but you can look up on my website in more detail. It'll explain it, and by doing that lateral movement, you're gonna get a little bit more separation of that horse's legs. Now, as you do that, if you also get the horse to carry itself better in a more neutral frame, because most horses that are step pacing, not all, but a lot of them are step pacing with their head up and their back inverted. So if you can get that horse's back to be a little bit more round and relaxed by bringing its head down and giving it a little bit more release in the reins when it brings its head down, over time, if you're consistent, that horse will start to relax its back and neck. Okay, you might have to do a lot of work at the slower speeds, like a flat walk and doing patterns in the arena and just getting that horse to relax. But then over time, if you condition and work it up, as you go faster, if you just throw some poles around the arena and you start going faster, if you feel that little soft bounce in the saddle, just go over a pole and that'll separate the horse's legs. If you're out on the trail, take it off the trail, go over some rocks and some deeper footing, and that will usually separate the horse's legs. The hardest part is being consistent and not being lazy. If you're lazy, you're going to go back to step pacing. That's why the horses go back to step pacing, because they're lazy. Who wants to do more work if they don't have to? But the problem is it might be easier for them. They just don't know in the long run it's not as good for their body as the other gaits. So again, the step pace can be a smooth gait. If it's the only gait that you can get out of your horse and you just can't fix it, so be it. It might end up with some health issues in the long run. It might not if it's a tough horse. But that's the reason we don't really like to step pace, because we're trying to get a smoother gait, but also one that our horse can carry us healthy and last a long time for us in the long run. And would rather have the horse carry us in a neutral frame where it has a lower head set, more relaxed neck and back, than having it inverted, which will put more stress on its back, its hocks, and its SI joints as well. Okay, so that step pace again is a 4-beat gait. It's just that the legs on the same side, so like the right front and the right hind, are moving closer together. The hind foot lands first and then the front leg lands, but they kind of swing together. So if you can do any lateral movements and retrain that horse and condition it to do a running walk or a saddle gait or a foxtrot, that will be much healthier for the horse in the long run. Okay, hope that helps.